My name is Ellie. I am 23 years old. I live in a small town with my parents and my younger sister. I work in a grocery shop near our house. Every day feels the same. I wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, and go to bed. But deep inside, I always wanted more. I wanted to speak English. I wanted to talk to people from other places. I wanted to feel proud of myself for doing something new. English always seemed like a big door to something better. I started learning English when I was a teenager. I watched some videos online. I used free apps to learn new words. I tried to listen to songs, but I never spoke the words out loud. I was too shy. I did not want to sound wrong. I thought, what if someone hears me and laughs? So I kept the words in my head. I learned a little, but I never practiced speaking. I was afraid. One day, I joined a free English class in the next town. It was once a week. I felt excited. I thought, maybe this will help me. There were about 15 students in the class. Some were older than me. Some were younger. Everyone looked friendly. The teacher's name was Mr. Carter. He smiled a lot and spoke slowly. I liked that. I listened carefully in every class. I wrote down new words. I tried to understand the grammar, but I still didn't speak much. Then, something happened that I still remember clearly. One Thursday, Mr. Carter said, "Today, we will all practice speaking. Everyone will say one sentence in English about something they like." My heart started to beat faster. I felt nervous. I didn't want to speak in front of everyone. I looked down at my notebook and hoped he would skip me. But then he said, "Ellie, you can go first. Would you still speak if you knew someone might laugh?" That's what I had to decide that day. Keep reading, because that moment changed everything. Please comment your thoughts or write your country in the e-comments. Also, subscribe to the channel and like the story if you enjoy the reading. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. I looked at the floor. I tried to remember a simple sentence. My mouth felt dry. Then I said, "I like to eat pizza." I stopped. I could not remember the next word. My face felt hot. I was quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, "Pizza and cake." A boy in the back started laughing. Then 2 other people laughed too. One girl whispered something, and another girl smiled. I looked at them, then looked back at the teacher. I felt small. I wanted to run out of the room. I sat down quickly and looked at my hands. Mr. Carter said, "Thank you, Ellie." But I could see the worry on his face. I didn't hear anything for the next 10 minutes. I just sat there and wished I could disappear. After the class, I walked home very slowly. It was cold outside, but I didn't feel it. I was thinking about the laugh. I was thinking about the way they looked at me. I felt so stupid. I asked myself, why did I even try? Why did I speak? I did not want to go back to class again. That night, I didn't talk much at dinner. My mother asked, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm just tired." I went to bed early. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. I thought, maybe I will never speak English. Maybe it's too hard for me. Maybe I will always be the girl who makes mistakes. The next Thursday came. I didn't want to go to class. I told my mother, "I have a headache." She said, "Then stay home and rest." So I did. I sat on the sofa and watched TV. But I didn't enjoy it. I kept thinking about that moment in class. I kept hearing the laugh in my head. I felt like I lost something. A week later, I went back to class. I didn't want Mr. Carter to think I gave up. But I also didn't speak. He asked some questions, but I stayed quiet. I only wrote in my notebook. The others spoke, but I didn't look at them. I was afraid they would laugh again. I just wanted the class to end. After class, I was leaving when a girl from the class came up to me. Her name was Hannah. She said, "Hi, Ellie." I said, "Hi." She looked at me kindly. Then she said, "I'm sorry about what happened last time. That was not nice. Some people laughed, but I thought you were brave." I didn't know what to say. No one ever said that to me. I looked at her and said, "I made a mistake." She nodded and said, "We all make mistakes. That's how we learn." Then she smiled and said, "Next time, if we speak in pairs, you can talk with me. I won't laugh." That moment gave me a little hope. Someone understood. Someone was kind. I still felt nervous, but I also felt seen. The next class, Mr. Carter said, "We will work in pairs today. Please ask your partner about food or hobbies." Hannah looked at me and said, "Want to be my partner?" I said yes. We sat together and she said, "I like dancing. What about you?" I answered slowly, "I like music and cooking." She smiled and said, "That's great." Then she asked, "What do you cook?" I said, "I make eggs and soup." We both laughed a little. A warm laugh. Not a mean one. That small conversation made me feel better. I still spoke slowly. I still made mistakes. But Hannah never laughed. She helped me with hard words. She waited when I forgot something. She corrected me gently. It felt safe. From that day, I started to speak more. Only a little. Only when I was with Hannah. But that was enough. She always said, "You're getting better." And I started to believe her. I wasn't fast. I wasn't perfect. But I was trying. And I didn't feel scared like before. One evening, I watched a short video online. It was a man speaking English about his day. He said, "Today, I went to the park. I saw a dog. The dog was funny. I understood everything. Every word. I smiled. It was a small thing, but it felt like a big win. That night, I thought about that class again. The day they laughed. I used to think that was the end, but now I see it was the start. It was the moment that pushed me to try harder. Not for them, for me. After that small win with Hannah, something in me changed. I still felt nervous, but now I wanted to speak more. I didn't want to feel scared forever. I wanted to be better, even if it was slow. So I made a small plan. I decided to speak at least once in every class. Just one sentence. Even if it was simple, even if it was short. In the next class, Mr. Carter asked, "What did you do last weekend?" Raised my hand. He looked surprised, but happy. I said, "I went to the market with my sister." He smiled and said, "Very good." A few people looked at me. No one laughed. That gave me more courage. Hannah clapped softly at her desk. That made me smile. For the first time, I didn't feel like hiding. I felt like I was part of the class. After class, Mr. Carter came to me and said, "I'm proud of you. You're doing better each week." I said, "Thank you." It was a small moment, but it stayed with me. From then on, I spoke a little more each week. I asked questions. I answered short sentences. I made small jokes. Sometimes I made mistakes, but I didn't freeze. I kept going. And slowly, people in the class started talking to me more. They saw I was trying. One day, Mr. Carter gave us a small group task. We had to plan a picnic. I was in a group with Hannah and two boys, Ben and Scott. At first, I didn't say much, but Hannah said, "Ellie has good ideas. Let's ask her." That gave me strength. I said, "We can bring sandwiches and juice." Scott said, "Nice." Ben added, "What games can we play?" I said, "We can play a ball game or maybe tell funny stories." We all laughed. It was the first time I laughed in English class without fear. After class, Ben said, "You spoke really well today." I said, "Thanks." That one word felt strong, like I was not the same girl from a few weeks ago. At home, I told my sister about the picnic plan. She smiled and said, "You talk more now." "It's nice to see you happy." I said, "I still get nervous, but I try." She said, "Trying is enough." Later that week, I went to a small cafe near the bus stop. I saw a woman reading a book in English. She looked about my age. I wanted to say something, but I felt unsure. Then I remembered what Hannah said. Don't be afraid to try. So I walked up to her and said, "That book is in English. Is it good?" She looked up and smiled. "Yes, it's easy to read. Do you like English books?" I said, "I'm learning. I can understand some now." She said, "That's great. My name is Erin." I said, "I'm Ellie." We talked for 5 minutes. Just simple things. But it was real. It was the first time I spoke English outside of class. When I went home, I felt proud. I told my mother, I spoke English to a girl in the cafe. She smiled and said, "See? You can do it." That night, I slept with a light heart. The next English class was a little different. Mr. Carter gave each of us a card with one question. We had to walk around and ask other students the question. I felt nervous again, but I looked at the card and read my question. "What is your favorite movie?" I took a breath and walked to a student named Jenny. I asked her the question. She smiled and told me. Then she asked me her question. We talked. Then I went to 2 more people. Each time, I felt a bit more calm. It felt like a small game, but it was helping me. At the end of class, Mr. Carter said, "You all did great. This is how we grow. Speaking, trying, and helping each other." After class, Hannah said, "You were amazing today." I said, "I felt scared, but I did it." She said, "That's why you're amazing." That evening, I sat outside and watched the sky. I thought about my first day, the day they laughed, and I thought about today, the day I spoke to 4 people in English. I was not perfect, but I was brave. That night, I decided something. I would never let one bad moment stop me again. I would speak, I would learn, and I would grow, even if I was slow, even if I was scared, because trying is not weakness, trying is strength, and I was ready to keep going. The next month, I started doing something new. I gave myself a small challenge every day. One day, I had to say a new word in class. Another day, I had to talk to one new person. Some days, I watched short videos with English subtitles. Other days, I tried to copy the sentences out loud. It was not easy, but it helped me get better, slowly. Hannah still sat next to me in class. She always smiled when I spoke. Sometimes she helped me find the right word. We worked on many tasks together. I liked being her partner. She never made me feel bad for making mistakes. One day, Mr. Carter told us, "Next week, you will all give a short talk. Just 2 minutes. The topic is my dream." I froze. A talk? In front of the class? My hands started to shake. I looked at Hannah. She looked calm. I whispered, "I can't do it." She said, "Yes, you can. I will help you." That evening, I sat in my room and thought about my dream. I wanted to travel. I wanted to speak English in another country. I wanted to talk to people, not just in books or videos, but in real life. I wanted to feel free. I started writing my talk in simple sentences. My name is Ellie. I want to travel. I want to see new places. I want to talk to people. I am learning English to make this dream come true. I practiced these words again and again. I read them out loud. I checked them with Hannah. She said, "It's perfect." And it's true. On the day of the talk, my heart was beating fast. I waited for my turn. When Mr. Carter called my name, I stood up. My legs felt weak. I walked to the front of the room. I looked at the class. I took a deep breath. Then I began. I said my words slowly. I looked at the wall behind them. I tried not to look at their faces, but then I looked at Hannah. She smiled. I felt stronger. I kept going. I finished the last line. I am learning English to make this dream come true. Then it was quiet. For 2 seconds. Then the class clapped. It was soft, but real. Mr. Carter said, "Very good, Ellie." I walked back to my seat. My face was red, but this time, not from shame. It was from joy. I had done it. I did not run. I did not freeze. I spoke. After class, 3 students came to me. Jenny said, "I liked your talk. It was real." Ben said, "You spoke so clearly." Scott added, "I hope your dream comes true." My heart felt full. At home, I told my sister everything. She gave me a big hug. She said, "You see? You are strong." My mother smiled and said, "One day, you will go far." I started to believe her. Weeks passed. I kept working on my English. I still made mistakes. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes I felt shy. But now, I did not stop. I just tried again. One Friday, Mr. Carter told us about a small event in the town library. It was a language day. People from different places would come and speak English. Some were from Canada, some from the UK, some were travelers. Students could go and practice with them. I wanted to go, but I was scared. What if they didn't understand me? What if I said something wrong? I told Hannah about it. She said, "Let's go together." So we went. The library was full of people. There were flags from many countries, tables with books, a small stage, and many small groups talking. Hannah and I walked to a table where 2 young women were sitting. One said, "Hi, want to join us?" I said, "Yes." "My name is Ellie." "This is Hannah." They asked, "Where are you from?" I said, "We live here, in this town." They smiled. "We are from London. We came for 1 week." We talked for 10 minutes. I asked them what they liked about our town. I told them I was learning English. One woman said, "You're doing great. I can understand everything." That made me so happy. I wanted to cry, but I smiled instead. We went to more tables. I spoke to a man from Canada. He asked, "What do you do?" I said, "I work in a shop." He said, "That's nice. I worked in a shop too, when I was young." It felt good to have a real talk. At the end of the event, a woman from the library came to me. She said, "Would you like to join our weekly English group? It's free. We talk and help each other." I said yes. I started going every Thursday. It was a small group, just 6 people. 1 woman was from Germany, 1 man was from Turkey, and 1 girl was from Brazil. We all had the same dream: to speak better English. Every week, we shared stories, we played games, we laughed. I was not alone anymore. I had a small English family now. One day during our group, the woman from the library asked me, "Ellie, will you help us welcome new learners next week? Just a short hello in English." I said yes, without fear. Next Thursday, I stood at the door. I said, "Hello, welcome," to each new person. I showed them to their seats. I asked them where they were from. I felt calm. I felt proud. After the group ended, a girl named Mia came to me. She said, "I was so scared to come today, but you made me feel safe." I smiled and said, "I understand. I was scared too, but it gets better." That night, I thought back to my first class, to the day they laughed. It felt far away now, like a small cloud in the past. It no longer followed me. Now, I was helping others. I was sharing my story. I was growing. Months later, Mr. Carter called me after class. He said, "Ellie, would you like to speak at the school event next month? Just a short talk about your journey in English. It will help other students." I said, "Yes, I would love to." I stood on the stage in front of the class, and I told them my story. I said, "One day, people laughed when I tried to speak. I felt small. I almost stopped learning, but I didn't. I kept going. I made a new friend. I spoke, even when I was scared. And now, I feel proud." Everyone clapped. Mr. Carter clapped. Hannah smiled. My sister cried. After the event, a younger girl came to me. She said, "I want to be brave like you." I said, "You can. Just don't stop. Even if they laugh, even if you feel shy, just keep going." Because that is the truth I learned. Bravery is not big. It is small steps. It is 1 word at a time, 1 smile at a time, 1 sentence at a time. And now, I no longer say, "I can't." I say, "I'm trying," and that is enough. We all go through hard times, but stories like this can help us feel seen. Thank you for watching, and come back for more real moments. What would you do if a ghost stood in front of you at night? Would you believe it was real, or would you tell yourself it was only a dream? My name is Eliza Gray. I am the wife of a fisherman, and I live in a small village by the sea in Scotland. The year was 1781 when my life changed forever. That was the night I saw my first husband again. But he was not alive. He was dead. I lived in a stone farmhouse by the shore. The wind from the sea was always strong. It pushed against the walls and made the windows shake. The days were cold, and the nights were colder. Life was hard, but it was our life. My husband Thomas worked on his boat every day. I stayed home to cook, sew, and care for the house. We lived with Isla, my only daughter. She was 10 years old. She was the child of my first husband, Edward Hale, who had died 3 years earlier in a storm at sea. I thought he was gone forever, but I was wrong. Before I take you deeper into this story, I ask you something important. Please subscribe to this channel, share this story with a friend, and write a comment. It helps me to bring you more stories. Thank you. That evening, everything seemed normal. Thomas sat by the fire. His hands were rough and cut from the ropes on the boat. His hair was wet from the sea. I sat near the window with my sewing. The fire was warm and the room was quiet. Upstairs, Isla slept in her small bed, wrapped in a blanket. I thought it would be another quiet night. But then Thomas looked up. He lifted his head from his chair and stared at the window. "What is it?" I asked him. "Nothing," he said quickly. But I knew it was not nothing. His voice shook, and his eyes were not calm. I looked at the window myself. The glass showed only the dark night outside. The sea was black, and the moon was hidden. I saw nothing unusual. I told myself it was only his tired mind. But inside me, a small fear began to grow. Later, when we went to bed, I still felt uneasy. The house was quiet, but too quiet. Even the sound of the wind outside seemed far away. Thomas lay beside me. Soon he closed his eyes, but I could not sleep. My ears waited for something. I did not know what. Then I heard it. A whisper. Soft, low, but clear. It said my husband's name. Thomas. My eyes opened wide. My body froze. Slowly, I turned my head. At the end of the bed stood a man. He looked pale, his clothes wet as if he had walked from the sea. His hair was dark, and drops of water fell from his hands. His eyes were empty but burning at the same time. I knew that face. My heart almost stopped. It was Edward Hale, my first husband, the father of my child, the man I had buried in my heart 3 years before. My mouth was dry. I tried to speak, but no words came. I pulled the blanket close to me. Beside me, Thomas gasped. He saw him too. "Do you see him?" Thomas whispered. I could only stare. Edward's ghost took a step closer. His feet made no sound on the floor. His voice was deep and cold. "Do not fear me," he said. But fear filled my whole body. "Why are you here?" Thomas asked. His voice shook. Edward looked at both of us. His pale face was stern. "I came for Isla," he said. "She is not safe. Marcus Flint has taken what belongs to her." The name hit me like ice. Marcus Flint. He was the richest man in our village. He had a large house, many boats, and much land. People feared him. He was known for his heavy hands and cruel eyes. "What do you mean?" I asked in a thin voice. Edward's eyes glowed. "Before I died, I left land for Isla. It was hers by right. But Marcus stole it. He hid the paper. He claimed the land as his own. If no one fights him, Isla will lose everything." I felt my body shake. My little girl. My only child. Her future was at risk. Thomas swallowed hard. "Why me?" he asked. "I am only a fisherman. I cannot fight Marcus Flint." Edward's ghost moved closer. The room grew colder with each step. "Because you are her father now," he said. "You must protect her. If you do not, I will never rest, and I will never leave you in peace." Thomas's face turned pale. "He will kill me if I accuse him." Edward's eyes darkened. "Are you afraid of Marcus?" "Yes," Thomas whispered. "Then be more afraid of me," Edward said. The air grew heavy. My chest felt tight. I could not breathe well. Thomas trembled. His lips tried to say no, but the word would not come. Edward raised his hand, and I felt the pressure push down on us. "Say yes," Edward demanded. "Say you will fight for my daughter." Thomas's face twisted in fear. Finally, he gasped, "Yes." The air grew lighter. The ghost lowered his hand. His voice softened a little. "Good," he said. Then he turned his gaze to me. "Eliza," he said, "watch over Isla. Do not let Marcus take her future." His voice shook me inside. I wanted to answer, but my throat was closed. My hands clutched the blanket tight. Edward stepped back. His body faded slowly into the darkness. His voice was the last thing we heard. "I will return. Be ready." Then he was gone. The room was silent again, but the silence was heavy. Thomas sat up, his face white. He looked broken, as if a weight was pressing on him. I sat still, my hands shaking. The fire downstairs had gone out, and the house was cold. I looked at my husband, but he did not look back. His eyes stared into nothing, as if he was lost in a place far away. I wanted to believe it was a dream, but I knew the truth. I had seen Edward with my own eyes. My dead husband had come back. He would not rest until his will was done. That night, I lay awake until the sky turned gray. I thought of Isla, sleeping upstairs, innocent and safe in her small bed. She had no idea of the danger that waited for her. She had no idea that her dead father had returned. When morning came, Thomas did not speak. His face was still pale. I put food on the table, but he did not eat much. Isla came down, smiling, her hair tangled from sleep. She asked for bread and milk, and I gave it to her with a shaking hand. I smiled at her, but my smile was weak. Inside, I was filled with fear. We were trapped. Between the ghost of Edward Hale and the cruel power of Marcus Flint, I did not know how we could escape. But I knew one thing. Life in our farmhouse would never be the same again. After that night, I could not rest. My eyes closed, but my mind stayed awake. Every sound in the house made me afraid. When the wind pushed at the windows, I thought it was Edward. When the floor creaked, I thought he was back. I tried to tell myself it was only a dream, but I knew it was not. Thomas knew it too. In the morning, Thomas hardly spoke. He sat at the table with a pale face and empty eyes. He drank his tea, but his hands shook. Isla laughed and talked, but he did not answer her much. I tried to smile at my daughter, but my smile was weak. Inside, I felt fear pressing on me. That evening, when Isla was asleep, Thomas spoke. His voice was low. "He will come again," he said. I did not want to hear it, but I knew it was true. The air in the room was heavy, as if waiting. And when the fire grew dim, he came. Edward's ghost appeared near the window. His face was pale, his clothes still wet. Drops of water fell to the floor and made no sound. My heart jumped, but I forced myself to sit still. "Thomas," Edward said. "It is time." Thomas looked up, his face tight. "Time for what?" Edward stepped closer. "Time to act. You must fight Marcus Flint. You must tell the council of the village what he has done." My hands gripped my lap. I wanted to cry. "The council will not believe you," I said. "They will laugh. They will say you are mad." Edward turned his eyes on me. "They will believe when I give them proof. There is a paper, a deed that Marcus hid. It is in my old boat. The boat is broken, left near the rocks by the shore. In the wood, under the seat, the deed still waits. When the time comes, I will show the truth." Thomas shook his head. "Marcus is a rich man. He has friends. He is strong. He will kill me." Edward's voice grew colder. "If you do not fight, I will not let you live in peace. Every night I will come. Every night I will whisper in your ear, you will never rest again." Thomas looked down at the floor. His face was white. His lips pressed tight. I knew he had no choice. Edward would not leave us alone. The next day, Thomas went to the shore. I went with him. We found Edward's broken boat near the rocks. The wood was black from sea and storm. Thomas pulled at the seat, and I helped with my hands. At last, the seat came loose. Beneath it, wrapped in old cloth, was a paper. My breath caught. Thomas opened it. The ink was faded, but the words were clear. The land was for Isla. Edward had signed it. My hand shook as I touched it. It was real. We carried it home. That night, Edward came again. His pale face looked calmer than before. "You have the paper," he said. "Good. Now go to the council. Tell them Marcus stole the land." My voice shook. "They will not believe Thomas. They will believe Marcus. He is rich. He is powerful. Thomas is only a fisherman." Edward's ghost leaned closer. His wet hair hung over his face. "When the moment comes, I will speak. My voice will be heard. No one can deny me." I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him to leave us in peace. But when I looked at him, my courage left me. I held my hands together and prayed for morning. The day of the council came. The village hall was full. People whispered, curious to see why Thomas Gray had called for judgment against Marcus Flint. I sat beside Isla in the back, my heart beating fast. Thomas stood near the front. His clothes were neat, but his face was pale. His hands shook as he held the paper. Marcus Flint sat across the room. He was large, with broad shoulders and a cruel mouth. His eyes were dark and cold. When he looked at Thomas, I felt a chill. The elders sat at the table. The oldest man, John Kerr, spoke. "Why have you called us Thomas Gray?" Thomas's voice was thin but steady. "I am here for Isla, my daughter. Her father, Edward Hale, left land for her before he died. But Marcus Flint took it. He hid the paper. He claimed the land as his own. It belongs to Isla." The room filled with whispers. People turned to look at Marcus. Marcus rose to his feet. His voice was loud and sure. "This is a lie. I took nothing, The man is only jealous. He wants what he cannot have. Thomas lifted the paper with shaking hands. Here is the deed. Edward signed it. The land is for Isla. Marcus laughed. A false paper. Anyone could write this. Do you think these men will believe a poor fisherman over me? I felt my heart sink. The elders looked unsure. Their eyes moved between Thomas and Marcus. Some shook their heads. Then Thomas spoke again. His voice was louder now. Edward told me this himself. The room went silent. Then laughter burst out. Men shouted. Edward is dead, one man called. This fisherman has lost his mind, another said. My face burned. I wanted to hide. Isla clutched my hand, frightened. Thomas stood alone, pale and shaking. Order, John Kerr called. Order in the hall. He looked at Thomas with pity. Do you mean to say a ghost spoke to you? Thomas lifted his chin. Yes. Edward Hale spoke to me, and he will speak to you too. The room was filled with noise again. Some laughed, some shouted. But then, silence. A voice rose, deep and clear. I am Edward Hale. The hall froze. The voice was strong, and all heard it. But no body was seen. Women gasped. Men stepped back. My own heart stopped. I knew that voice. It was Edward. Marcus's face turned white. His eyes grew wide. He looked around, afraid. The voice spoke again. Marcus Flint stole my daughter's land. He hid the deed. He lied to you all. Gasps filled the room. Some men crossed themselves. One woman fainted. Marcus shouted, No! This is a trick! But his voice shook. Sweat ran down his face. Edward's voice thundered. The land belongs to Isla, and Marcus has more crimes. He took gold from a merchant. He killed a man by the shore. His hands are full of blood. The hall was chaos. People screamed. Some stepped away from Marcus. The elders rose from their seats, their faces pale. John Kerr lifted his hand. Enough. We will judge this matter. Marcus Flint, you must answer these words. Marcus's face twisted with rage. He pointed at Thomas. This is your doing. I will kill you for this. He pushed past the crowd, his heavy boots shaking the floor. My blood ran cold. I pulled Isla close. People shouted, trying to stop him. But Marcus was strong. He stormed out of the hall and into the night. The elders called for order, but my mind was full of fear. I knew the truth. Marcus would not stop. And now my family was in more danger than ever before. After the council meeting, the whole village spoke about it. People whispered in the streets. Some were afraid. Some were shocked. And all knew one thing. Marcus Flint was guilty. The elders said they would call him back for judgment. But Marcus did not wait. He left the hall in rage, and his last words to Thomas were full of hate. You will pay, he shouted. His voice was loud, and all heard it. His eyes were dark, and his face red. I knew then that he would not stop. That night, I could not rest. I lay in bed with my eyes open. The house was quiet, but I was not calm. Thomas lay beside me, but he did not sleep either. His eyes stared into the dark. I could hear his breath. It was heavy and uneasy. Do you think he will come? I asked.
Yes,
Thomas whispered. His voice was weak.
He will not forgive this.
My hands shook as I held the blanket. I thought of Isla, sleeping in her small bed upstairs. She was so innocent, so young. She did not know the danger around her. Hours passed. The fire downstairs grew cold. The night was still. Then we heard it. A sound at the door. Slow. Heavy. My heart raced. Thomas sat up at once.
Stay here,
he said. But I could not stay. I sat up too, holding my breath. The door creaked. A shadow filled the room below. A voice spoke.
Thomas Gray!
It was Marcus Flint. His voice was deep and cruel. Thomas stood and moved toward the stairs.
Stay with Isla,
he told me. But I followed, my feet shaking. I could not let him face Marcus alone. At the bottom of the stairs stood Marcus. He was tall and broad, his face twisted in rage. In his hand, he held a knife. The blade shone in the dim light.
You destroyed my life,
he said. His voice was full of hate.
Now, I will end yours.
Thomas tried to be strong.
The land is not yours. It belongs to Isla.
Marcus laughed, but it was a hard laugh.
The land is mine if I take it, and I will take more than land tonight.
He stepped forward. The knife caught the light again. My breath caught in my throat. Thomas raised his hands.
Please, think of the child,
he said. But Marcus did not care. He lifted the knife. My scream filled the room. And then, something happened. The air grew cold, sharp as ice. The candle flickered, then went out. Darkness filled the room. A voice came from the shadows.
No, Marcus.
It was Edward. His voice shook the walls. Marcus froze. His eyes went wide.
No,
he said.
Not you.
You are dead. A shape moved in the dark. Pale. Wet. Draping. Edward's ghost stood between Marcus and Thomas. His eyes glowed with fire.
You took my daughter's land. You killed a man for gold. And now you try to kill again. But you will not.
Marcus's knife shook in his hand.
Stay back,
he shouted. He swung the knife at the ghost. The blade passed through air. Edward did not move. The ghost lifted his hand. The knife slipped from Marcus's grip. It clattered to the floor. Marcus fell back, his face white.
You cannot fight the dead,
Edward said.
And you cannot fight the sea.
Then the sound began. The sound of waves crashing, though we were inside the house. Water poured across the floor, cold and strong. It rose around Marcus's boots. He cried out, but the water pulled at him.
No,
he shouted. His arms swung, but it was no use. The water dragged him toward the door. His body slammed against the frame. He screamed once more. Then the sea took him. The door slammed shut, and the water was gone. The house was silent. My body shook. Thomas stood still, his face white. Isla cried upstairs, frightened by the noise. I ran to her and held her close. It is over, I whispered. But my voice trembled. Edward's ghost turned to me. His face was calm now.
The land is safe. My daughter is safe. My soul can rest. His body began to fade. Thank you, Eliza. Thank you, Thomas.
His voice grew softer.
But remember, I am still watching.
Then he was gone. The room was empty. Only the cold air remained. The next day, people found Marcus's boat broken on the rocks by the shore. His body was never seen again. Some said he drowned. Some said the sea took him as punishment. But Thomas and I knew the truth. Edward had taken him. The council gave the land to Asla. The paper was proof. No one spoke against it. People whispered about ghosts, but no one dared to deny what happened. Life slowly returned to normal, but it was not the same. At night, I sometimes felt the air grow cold. Sometimes I thought I heard Edward's voice in the wind. He said he would rest, but part of me believed he never left. Isla grew older. She walked on the land that was hers. She laughed and played, innocent again. She did not remember much of that night, but I remembered. I remembered the voice, the cold, and the power of the dead. Thomas never spoke of it much. His eyes stayed dark for many months. He worked on the sea, but his shoulders were heavy. I knew he carried the weight of that night. As for me, I tried to live in peace. I tried to tell myself it was over. But when storms came and the sea struck the rocks, I sometimes looked at the window. In the dark glass, I thought I saw a face, pale, wet, and watching.